When you were writing this, did you have any idea how it was going to capture people's imagination, be so popular?
No, I don't think anyone expects this. It felt right when I was writing it. It felt like this was working. So I was optimistic. My editors were really positive about it, but still, it's completely blown me away, the reception.
And you wrote about, what, 3 chapters initially, was it, and then gave it to
I wrote about half the book,
right.
and I sold it on the partial because I needed the money.
And you got into it, the whole bidding war started. That is so exciting when you're an author, isn't it? Because you know you're onto something.
Yeah, I'm always interested in plot. So when you sit down to write a book, is your plot defined before you start writing, or did yours develop as you went along?
Well, I knew basically where I was going to end up. I knew who done it.
Okay.
I had to know that because I'm not one of those people who can just write and hope that it works out. But there were things that changed along the way. Someone mentioned Anna earlier. I didn't initially have her voice in the book. I introduced her later, and that was quite interesting because it actually changed her for me as a character. Once I was in her head, I started thinking completely different things about her.
We didn't like Anna all that much.
No.
What actually gave you the idea for this particular... How did you come up with the story?
Well, in a similar way, to what you were saying earlier about your early commutes in London. I also didn't grow up here. I grew up in Africa, and I moved to London as a teenager, and that commuting experience was completely alien to me, and that thing of being able to see into people's houses was completely new and exciting. And so I think that I've had this sort of idea knocking around for a long time. And then I also had this character, Rachel, who I'd used in sort of another book, or another book that didn't get published, an idea. And then when I put her on the train, it somehow all like came together.
And did you hear the lady here who everybody seems to have loved the book, but didn't particularly like Rachel and struggled with that? And there is a pressure as an author, isn't there, to constantly write likeable characters?
I think there is, but I'm not as interested in likability as I am in credibility, and I think she's really frustrating, but addicts are. People who are behaving in that way are. She's behaving awfully. I understand that is frustrating, but I hope that as the book goes on, you start to understand her psychology and what's led her here. I mean, she's still annoying, but at least you can see where she's coming from.
Yeah, I felt great sympathy for her when I found out about that she couldn't have children, and up until that point she was irritating me a bit, and thought, well, pull yourself together, Rachel. And then, so I liked that, and I kind of flipped between all of them, actually, liked them, didn't like them. So, the film rights obviously have already been taken up on this, which is amazing. Will you have any say in that, or any casting at all? Or, no?
Absolutely nothing to do with me.
If you could choose anybody in mind.
I find this really difficult. Yeah. I keep changing my mind. There was a magazine that suggested a bunch of people the other day. They suggested Carey Mulligan. They suggested Emilia Clarke, who's in Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen. I think it's a role that will appeal to a lot of actors. I think it would be really interesting.
I'm sure it will. It's amazing. Did you see this one today? I love this.
But yeah, I totally agree. You're one of them. Ooh!
Which I find patronising to start off with.
I think it's empowering. I think it's inspiring.
It's just part of every day.
We've got loads there. That's a good show. That's a good show.
The discussion starts here. Loose Women, weekdays at 12:30.